AE um Ric Flair and AEW. I don't know. I guess this is why we shouldn't be surprised about Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara and all the terrible stuff that wrestlers have been doing to women, the young ones, etc. Ospreay, Matt Riddle, etc. I mean, Ric Flair was like the start of them. It was his gimmick, it was his life, it was his kayfabe, it was his shoot. It was on the Tony Schiavone podcast. It's still on this like Black Bart thing on Hannibal TV, and I don't know. Is it really that surprising? I don't know how surprising. Tommy Dreamer said was terrible. They got rid of sponsorships. The Ric Flair like made things worse by saying in the Renee Paquette Moxley podcast that he was gonna snitch out people for to make sure he was safe after doing all the horrible stuff he did. Dusty was naked in the hotels too, flashing people like Flair did. Schiavone approved of it in his podcast like several years ago. And it was terrible. Schiavone approved. And Dusty approved. And I don't know how Cody's... No one cares about Cody. People had this whole anti-UK thing. No one cares about Darby Allin. Stuff that's happening now that no one cares about. Ric Flair's like a family man. Cares about Andrade, Charlotte Flair, who's been sexually harassed. And like he has a wife, and like he's not like doing that anymore. There was a settlement. I don't know if it was a gag order, but like they settled. What Tyron Jr. said was terrible. He deserved to be suspended. I feel like most people just want him suspended because like they're tired of him being on Impact. Or it's like him saying terrible stuff. There's also something. There's also the Paul Heyman thing. There's also the thing that he said unemployment wasn't going to work because of what Nixon said. And I mean, Chris Jericho, his wife was like in Jan 6. That was never investigated. They left that alone. I was just having this conversation in the FF8 podcast stream about like how people do stuff and like they get away with it and no one ever investigates anything. So accountability. Jericho donated the Trump, Undertaker donated the Trump, Vince donated the Trump. I mean, Tony Khan, I don't know what Tony Khan, but Father Khan donated the Trump for economic reasons, which themselves don't seem that moral. They've done a lot of terrible things. Like Vince had a super PAC for Trump. It was like, so yeah, like I'm happy there are people that support like Sonny Kiss and like Nyla Rose and think they should be pushed. But wrestling is right wing, even though I'm left wing, and like I don't know, they're not gonna push them. I don't know why you have that expectation. It's getting contemporary a little bit more, but like we're more aware of it now. I don't know. Some people are just like, oh, see him, Darby Allin, he's getting pushed. He's like this new star. We're not quite there yet. It's like what Jon Stewart said at MSG about people saying like I'm not gonna say like the whole canceling thing, like Jon Stewart said and Wilbur said, but like there's outrage when Shakira Rowling did a thing on said stuff about anti-trans people, but like when she does all these stereotypes with her characters, like it's perfectly fine. And there's like things about like Cactar. I was talking about like when I was streaming about Cactar being like the stereotype of like a Capcom character also being a cactus. It's weird. I don't even know how they know about Mexico, which is really weird. with people in Japan. You figure that there's all explanations they wouldn't know, but like there don't be stereotypes. I mean, this is 2020s, and like there's more like crimes against, it's more like hate crimes and like beyond like big scopes of horrible terror happening to like peoples and races and whatever. Like, yeah, well, Ric Flair, I mean, Ric Flair himself probably donated to Trump and donated to, he's a registered Republican. And Tessa Blanchard said racist stuff. Dusty said racist stuff. And yeah, that could, I mean, Cody Rhodes does a whole show. There's like two whole shows with TNT, which could be jeopardized because of this. But this is dead, not him. We'll see. I mean, he did that anti-UK stuff, so I don't know how many people from the UK want to watch this show about the Rose and the show about the Go Big Show. But like, for TNT would have cared about that, but they didn't. They haven't expanded to the UK. So Eric Guevara was never he was punished. I mean, Max Caster, at least he was punished and never pushed. So Eric Guevara was punished. Supposedly he had like therapy or like counseling, but like then he was pushed to the moon. Jericho was never punished at all. He was like super pushed. He's like a legend. He's like a Hall of Famer now. And he didn't learn anything. Ric Flair like got married and stuff. He's better off than what Jericho did. Jericho hasn't changed. It's interesting with the Norwegian cruise line thing, because like the cruise line CEO was like a pretty nice guy when he's talking like his interviews and stuff. Jericho was not a good person. Then you have like the whole Dan Lambert thing, and like even people, I mean, yeah, people don't like, but like what the fuck is up with that? I'm like, they don't like it, and I'm like, what's the point of that? I'm like, he never retired against MJF, so I don't expect him to lose against Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky for the future of AEW, all the wrestling, and they're pushing future stars. Flair pushed AJ. Was he? Talk about was he higher later? It was like simple rule what he did. Hiding it made it worse. He should just said he's changed. Lex Luger had that opportunity after one of the worst things. Lex Luger did a really terrible thing, and people are forgiving him over it. That's terrible. Stuff has been forgotten. I mean, you know the whole thing with like DX and like look what's up people. I mean, people have died in wrestling. Like people dying in real life, like outside of wrestling. It sort of reminds me of like people make a big deal of, like Will Smith and his broken marriage when like 500,000 people died. Like people don't have their priorities straight, or like don't research, or like they're warned and then like they care some random other moment and for whatever reason.